My name is Karen Sanchez, and I'm 28 years old. I used to think I understood what a stable, loving relationship looked like. I thought I was building one with my boyfriend Nathan Hale, the man I'd been with for 3 years, living together for two. I thought I knew him. I thought I knew us. I was wrong, so painfully wrong. Here's how my story begins. Before everything fell apart, our life felt ordinary in a comforting way. We had routines: Sunday morning pancakes, late evening park walks, binge watching awful reality shows while I scrolled on my phone, and he critiqued everything. Normal couple stuff that made me feel safe. Nathan worked as a project manager in construction, and I worked in marketing. Our families got along. My mother adored him. His dad always invited me to watch sports with him, saying, "Karen, you're good luck." We were that couple everyone pointed to and said relationship goals. At least that's what they believed. I believed it too. Until the night Nathan looked across the dinner table, halfway through his sandwich, and casually destroyed the world I thought we shared. We were talking about work. I'd just finished describing a stressful meeting when he suddenly paused, looked strangely thoughtful, and said, "Hey, Karen, what would you think about us trying an open relationship?" I froze, literally mid-chew. My fork hung in the air like it was suspended by invisible thread. I thought I misheard him. I wanted to mishear him. But Nathan kept going. He talked about personal growth, exploration, expanding our horizons. He said he'd been reading articles online. He said lots of couples were doing it. He said it could make us stronger. Whenever someone says change will make a relationship stronger, what they usually mean is they want something you won't like. So I asked the question that was burning a hole in my chest. Is there someone specific you want to date? His reaction said more than his words. He got defensive, too defensive. No, Karen, it's not about that. I just think we're still young, and I don't want us to wake up in 10 years wondering what we missed. I stared at his face, trying to find the man who used to hold my hand with both of his when he was worried. The man who used to race me down the hallway in our socks or kiss me awake on weekends. But that man was fading in front of me. Have you been unhappy? I asked him quietly. Not at all, he said. I love you. This isn't about being unhappy. It's about improving what we already have. Improving, like we were some renovation project. But then, he reached across the table and squeezed my wrist. His eyes were full of something I recognized, instantly pleading. And right then, I knew something awful. He had already made up his mind. He wasn't asking permission. He was giving me a courtesy warning. Saying no would not stop him. Saying no might end us. And so, like an idiot terrified of losing someone who had already let go, I whispered, "Okay, if you think it'll be good for us, we can try it." Nathan lit up, actually lit up. He leaned forward excitedly. Suddenly full of ideas, dating apps, rules, boundaries, logistics. All the things he clearly had been thinking about before tonight. My heart sank to the bottom of my stomach. After dinner, he acted like everything was normal. We watched TV. He put his arm around me, but he felt distant, like someone who was there out of habit instead of love. I tried to speak to say I wasn't sure, but every time I opened my mouth, fear stitched it shut again. That night, he slept like a baby. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, listening to his calm breathing, while my chest felt like a fist was clenching around it. Questions kept circling my mind like vultures. Was I not enough? Was he bored with me? Had he already chosen someone else? Did he ever love me as much as I loved him? My answers were empty. And the next day, everything changed so fast it made my head spin. Nathan set up his dating profiles with the same enthusiasm he usually had for planning vacations. He even asked me to help choose his photos as if this was normal, as if my stomach wasn't turning itself inside out. He stood by the window as the sun buzzed around him, posing, while I took pictures he could send to other women. I felt like I was photographing my own obituary. Meanwhile, I tried to make a profile too, because I thought maybe pretending would help me cope. But every word felt wrong. What am I supposed to write in a relationship but looking for experiences? No. No part of me wanted this. Nathan got matches immediately. Dozens. It didn't surprise me. He was handsome, charming, charismatic. But what broke me, how fast he started meeting them. Coffee dates, dinner dates, drinks, gyms, parks, everywhere. Within a week, he had several dates lined up, each with a different woman. He'd show me their profiles like this was fun for both of us. "Look at this one," he said one afternoon. "She's in law school. We're getting drinks tomorrow." I nodded, pretended to be supportive, pretended my insides weren't cracking. When he got ready for his first date, he put on a new shirt I'd never seen before, something he clearly bought for this. He styled his hair with more effort than usual and looked at himself in the mirror, the way men do when they're hoping someone notices. "How do I look?" he asked. I swallowed my heart. Good. He came home late that night. He thought I was asleep, but I heard him whisper texting someone, probably his date. And in the morning, he hummed while making coffee like life was suddenly brighter. Our routines vanished. No pancakes, no shows, no conversations. Just Nathan glowing, shining, thriving with other women. And me shrinking quietly in the corners of our home, trying not to break. I kept waiting for him to realize how much this was hurting me. I kept hoping he'd say, "Let's stop. I miss you." He never did. One night after his third date that week, I was sitting alone in our living room when someone knocked gently on our door. It was Claire Morton, his best friend. She stood there holding a borrowed casserole dish and looked at me with immediate worry. "Karen, you don't look okay. What's going on?" And just like that, the dam cracked. I didn't know then that Claire's arrival would change everything. But it did, and my story was only beginning. Claire stepped into the apartment the way people step into hospital rooms, carefully, gently, like she already sensed something was broken. She set the casserole dish on the counter and looked at me with a softness I hadn't felt from anyone in weeks. "Karen, what's going on? You look exhausted." Her voice cracked something inside me. Maybe it was the fact that she'd noticed my face before even asking about Nathan. Maybe it was because she had always been the one who saw small things, tight shoulders, forced smiles, fake laughter. Nathan used to notice those things too, before all of this. I sank slowly onto the couch, my hands shaking. "It's Nathan," I whispered. "He wanted an open relationship." Claire froze, completely froze. What the word came out sharper than she intended. I told her everything. The dinner table conversation, the pleading look in his eyes, the dating apps, the new clothes, the nights out, the late returns, the humming the next morning like he hadn't set our relationship on fire. Claire didn't interrupt. She sat down beside me, legs crossed toward me, listening with her whole body, the way some people only listen when they're hearing bad news from a doctor. When I finished, she let out a long breath. "That's not an open relationship," she said quietly. "That's Nathan doing whatever he wants and expecting you not to complain." I didn't know how badly I needed someone else to say those words aloud until they left her mouth. My eyes burned immediately. Claire reached for my hand, not in a romantic way, just human warmth. "I'm so sorry he put you through this," she murmured. "You don't deserve it." That night, after she left the apartment, felt even emptier. Nathan came home around midnight, smelling faintly of citrus cologne and something floral I didn't recognize. He didn't kiss me, he didn't sit with me. He walked straight to the bedroom, humming again. He was changing, or maybe he had already changed and I was just now noticing. The next days blurred together like smeared ink. Nathan's schedule filled with dates, coffee dates, dinner dates, late night dates, weekend dates. Every night he came home a little more energized, like he was feeding on some kind of thrill. Meanwhile, my life felt like a long hallway with no doors. I tried to be strong, tried to focus on work, but I'd find myself checking his Instagram tags, wondering who he was with, wondering if she was prettier, smarter, funnier, wondering if he was laughing with someone else the way he used to laugh with me. One evening, after he left for yet another date, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove to the restaurant he said he was trying out. I told myself I just wanted to convince myself he wasn't lying. But I knew the truth. I wanted to see who he was when he wasn't with me. I parked across the street, gripping the steering wheel like it was a lifeline. Through the window, I saw him at the bar with a tall woman in a red dress. Her smile was wide, bright, effortless. Nathan rested his hand lightly on her shoulder, familiar, comfortable. My stomach twisted. He looked at her the way he used to look at me, before I became background noise. I drove away before my tears blurred the road too much to see. Later that week, Claire stopped by again. She'd baked muffins this time, banana chocolate chip, and she handed me the bag like she didn't want to admit she'd noticed I'd lost weight. We sat on the couch again. The same place I'd cried last time. Except tonight I didn't cry. Tonight I felt hollow. "How many dates has he been on this week?" she asked gently. 6, I whispered. Claire's jaw tightened. 6, Karen, that's insane. "He says this is what exploring looks like," I murmured. "No, this is what abandoning looks like." Her voice cracked with anger on my behalf, something Nathan hadn't shown me in a long time. Claire stayed for hours talking, listening, letting me breathe. And every time Nathan left on another date, she somehow managed to find her way over, sometimes with food, sometimes with jokes, sometimes with nothing but silent company. I started to realize something terrifying. Claire saw me. Nathan didn't anymore. By week 3, Nathan wasn't pretending to hide his excitement. He'd stand in front of the mirror, smiling at his phone as he typed. He'd show me photos of women asking for his number. He'd talk about conversations he had with them like I was some kind of supportive roommate instead of his girlfriend. One night, while he got ready for his 5th date that week, he strutted around the room wearing a new shirt, the kind he only put on when he wanted someone to think he looked irresistible. I tried to sound casual. Nathan, don't you think you're going on a lot of dates? He paused, turned slightly, and gave me a look like I'd asked him why water was wet. That's the point, Karen. It's an open relationship. We agreed. No, he agreed. I just caved because I didn't want to lose him. He kissed the top of my head barely and left. I sat alone in the silence until my phone buzzed. It was Claire. Do you need company? I can stop by. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Yes, please. That night, something inside me shifted. Claire and I sat on the balcony wrapped in blankets, sipping tea, while city lights blinked below us. The air was cool and sharp, like it was trying to keep me awake. Karen, she said softly, you know this isn't sustainable, right? Nathan is taking advantage of you. I swallowed hard. I know. Then why are you letting him? Because a part of me still hoped. Hoped he'd realize what he was losing. Hoped he'd see I was drowning and come save me. Hoped he'd choose me again. But hope can be cruel. Claire rested her hand gently on my shoulder. You're not weak, Karen. You're loyal. But he's not loyal to you. And loyalty shouldn't be a one-way street. Her words slipped under my skin like a needle. For the first time, I wondered, what if I wasn't the problem? What if he was? Nathan came home late that night, smelling like someone's expensive perfume. He didn't notice the blanket on my shoulders. He didn't notice my red eyes. He didn't notice anything. But Claire did. And that realization hit me harder than Nathan's betrayal. The person who cared about me wasn't the man I loved. It was the friend standing beside me, watching him destroy me. And that's when everything began to unravel. The day everything tilted sideways didn't start dramatically. It was one of those deceptively ordinary mornings where the sky is too bright, the coffee is too bitter, and you don't realize a fault line is forming until you're already standing on it. Nathan had left early for a meeting, but the dress shirt he chose wasn't meeting worthy. It was date worthy. I didn't say anything because what was the point? Arguing with someone who was already living like a single man felt like yelling at a ghost. Around noon, I got a message from Claire. Are you home? Can I stop by for a bit? My chest tightened. I didn't know why she wanted to come, but I told her yes. By this point, her visits were the only thing keeping me from falling apart completely. When she arrived, she didn't step in right away. She lingered at the door, twisting the necklace she always wore, something she did only when she was anxious. Karen, can we talk? She asked quietly. Her tone made me nervous. Of course. What's wrong? She sat beside me on the couch, leaving a cautious space between us. The silence stretched not awkward, but loaded, like she was trying to balance something fragile between her hands. Finally, she exhaled slowly. I need to tell you something, she said, and I'm scared it might make things complicated. My breath caught. Claire, what is it? Her eyes met mine, full of guilt, worry. Something deeper I couldn't decipher. I've cared about you for a long time, she said softly. Long before Nathan pulled all of this mess. But I never said anything. You were happy. You were in love. I wasn't going to get in the way of that. I froze, not because she was crossing a line, but because of the honesty in her voice. She wasn't making a move. She wasn't confessing romantic feelings. She was confessing emotional investment, the kind born out of watching someone you care about hurt for too long. She continued, voice trembling slightly. I've been watching him tear you down piece by piece, and I just couldn't stay quiet anymore. You deserve someone who actually sees you and values you, even if that someone is just a friend. Her words were gentle, cautious, but they hit harder than any argument Nathan and I had lately. For the first time in weeks, I felt something resembling relief. Just hearing someone acknowledge that I wasn't imagining the pain. It mattered more than I realized. I swallowed. Claire, thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you right now. She smiled, small, sad, warm. You don't have to do anything. I'm not asking for anything. I just couldn't stand by while he treats you like this. We sat there in silence for a moment, the kind of silence that feels like a confession in itself. She wasn't asking me to leave Nathan. She wasn't asking for anything except for me to know that someone cared. But that small truth shifted something inside me. Someone was paying attention. Someone saw my pain. Someone understood me without needing explanations. And it wasn't Nathan. Later that evening, Nathan breezed into the apartment actually whistling while checking messages on his phone. His eyes were bright, his posture relaxed, and he didn't even notice the tension in the air. He didn't notice me. Hey, he said casually. Going out again tonight. Probably won't be back early. Probably, like he was doing me a favor by giving a vague courtesy. Okay, I said, my voice flat. He paused long enough to glance at me. You're acting weird lately, he said. You should go out more. This open thing works better if both people participate. I stared at him. Participate, I echoed. Yeah, he shrugged. You know, see people, experience things. Don't make this all about me. It was as if he wanted to be applauded for his disloyalty. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He lit up instantly, grinning down at the screen. A name popped up, Julia, his ex-girlfriend. He didn't bother hiding it. I felt something crack inside me. You're going out with Julia, I asked. He didn't even look ashamed. She reached out. We're catching up. It's harmless. Harmless. I almost laughed because, of course, his idea of exploring included revisiting exes. Of course, he considered it harmless. Of course, he never stopped to think how that word felt when applied to my heartbreak. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't even flinch. I just said, have fun, and turned away. But something in my voice must have struck him because his smile faded slightly. You know this is temporary, right? He said. Like, we'll go back to normal eventually. Normal. As if the destruction he caused was something we could paint over with cheap apologies and rearranged routines. He left after that. The door clicked shut behind him, and the apartment felt quieter than ever, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I texted Claire without thinking. Are you busy? She replied instantly. No, want me to come over? 20 minutes later, she was sitting beside me again, her presence grounding me like an anchor in a storm. You don't have to hide your pain from me, she said softly. Not here. Something broke open inside me, and I cried, really cried, for the first time since this nightmare began. Not silent tears, full-body sobs. Claire didn't touch me, didn't try to hug me. She just sat there letting me fall apart without rushing me to pull myself together. When my breathing finally slowed, she spoke in that calm, steady voice that always made me feel safe. You know he's not coming back from this, right? She said gently. He's not looking for openness. He's looking for escape. I wiped my eyes. I know, I whispered. I just didn't want to accept it. You don't have to accept his behavior, she said firmly. But you do deserve better than his version of love. The words settled in my chest like a hard truth I'd swallowed too many times. We sat there talking for hours about relationships, loyalty, heartbreak, self-worth. She didn't tell me to leave him. She didn't tell me what to do. She just helped me see the truth I'd been avoiding. Nathan wasn't building a future with me. He was building an exit. And as much as I hated it, I was finally starting to see that I couldn't follow him through that door. Not anymore. By the time the 4th week rolled around, something strange began happening. Something I hadn't expected after watching Nathan glow his way through dates with half the city. He started watching me. Not in a sweet, caring way. In a nervous, territorial, confused way. One morning, I was sitting on the couch with a cup of tea texting Claire about a small promotion opportunity at work. Nothing intense, nothing secretive, just a normal conversation. Nathan walked by, glanced at my phone, and stopped. Who are you texting? He asked. The tone was sharp, too sharp for someone who'd been out flirting every night. I blinked. Claire. Oh. He tried to act casual, but his jaw tightened. It was the same jaw tightening he did when he lost at board games, when something didn't go his way. He sat down next to me, pretending to watch the news, but he wasn't watching anything. His eyes kept flicking toward my phone like he was waiting for a message that would confirm a fear he hadn't even admitted to himself. Claire's been around a lot lately, he said finally. She's my friend, I replied. He shrugged, but it wasn't a real shrug. It was the kind people give when their insides are twisting. I'm just saying, she's been here more than usual. I hid my bitterness behind a sip of tea. That tends to happen when the person I live with is always out. That shut him up. He grabbed his keys and left early for work, though we both knew exactly where he was headed. Except now, he didn't look excited. He looked unsettled. Nathan's paranoia grew fast. Whenever Claire dropped by, he appeared minutes later like he was tracking my schedule. More than once, he accidentally came home early. He'd walk in and stop when he saw us talking. He'd force a smile. Oh, hey, Claire, didn't know you were coming. His eyes always darted between us, searching for something that wasn't there. Claire always handled it with grace. Just checking in on Karen, she'd say lightly. But Nathan's expression told me he didn't buy it. The irony was almost poetic. The man who begged for freedom now couldn't stand the idea that I might not be waiting for him. One night I was getting ready to go out. Nothing fancy, just casual clothes, hair brushed nicely light makeup. Claire had invited me for coffee to help clear my mind. Nathan was in the living room when I came out. He sat up straighter when he saw my outfit. Where are you going? His tone wasn't curiosity, it was suspicion. Out, I said simply. With who? Claire. He stood up quickly, too quickly, like the floor had shifted under him. You're going out at night. I stared at him. Nathan, you go out at night every single day. That's different, he muttered. How? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. You know, it just is. And there it was, the hypocrisy finally surfacing in plain view. You're jealous, I said softly. Nathan scoffed. I'm not jealous. Why would I be jealous? But his voice was too loud, too defensive. Maybe because I'm not sitting here waiting for you anymore. His jaw clenched again. He grabbed his jacket aggressively. I'm going out, he said. Enjoy, I replied, walking past him. But as I brushed by, I felt it something crashing inside him. Not anger, not confidence. Fear, real fear. The fear of someone who realizes the thing they took for granted might actually walk away. When I got back from coffee with Claire, the apartment lights were on. Nathan was actually pacing in the living room. He stopped the second he saw me. You didn't text, he snapped. I didn't know I had to. It's common courtesy. Since when, I asked calmly. His face flushed with frustration. Since we're in a relationship, Karen, you can't just disappear. I stared at him, stunned by the absurdity. You disappear every night, I reminded him. You disappear with women I don't know. You come home late. You don't tell me anything. He threw his hands up. That's the open relationship. Yes, I said carefully, the one you wanted. He froze. For a moment, the roles reversed. I was grounded and calm, and he was lost. I walked past him into the bedroom, leaving him standing there, breathing hard. For the first time, he realized something. I wasn't chasing him anymore. I wasn't begging for him anymore. I wasn't breaking for him anymore. He was the one spiraling now. Over the next week, Nathan's behavior shifted dramatically. He canceled dates, stayed home more, asked me little questions like, where are you going? When will you be back? Who's texting you? Are you seeing anyone? And the question he dreaded most, is it Claire? Every time he said her name, there was an edge, one he didn't even try to hide. At first I ignored it, then Claire noticed. He's unraveling, she told me one afternoon when Nathan left to grab groceries. He's losing control over you and he can't handle it. He shouldn't have controlled me in the first place, I said. Exactly. Claire leaned back on the couch. You're finally seeing who Nathan really is. I nodded, feeling that truth settle heavily. The truth. I'd been avoiding Nathan, didn't want openness. He wanted permission to stretch boundaries, indulge impulses, feel desired. He wanted a safety net, not a partner. Now that the net wasn't holding still beneath him, he was panicking. The breaking point came 3 days later. Nathan came home early again and found me laughing on a video call with Claire. Not flirting, not anything inappropriate, just laughing. He stopped in the doorway, eyes dark. What's so funny, he asked. Claire heard him and politely said goodbye before ending the call. Nathan walked toward me tense. You're spending way too much time with her. I stared at him. And you spent weeks out with strangers. That's different, he snapped. How? He hesitated too long. That's just how open relationships work. I stood up slowly. Nathan, do you even hear yourself? His hands curled into fists. You're slipping away from me, he said quietly. For the first time, the truth exposed itself not in anger, but in fear. You're not supposed to slip away, he added. I'm not yours to control, I said gently. He sat down heavily, like someone had punched the air out of him. We need to talk, he whispered, about closing the relationship. I blinked. Closing it? He nodded. I think we should. For us. For stability. My breath hitched. Not because I wanted him back, but because I finally understood he didn't want to fix us. He wanted to stop losing power. You want to close it now, I said softly, because you think I might have someone else. His silence was answer enough. Claire had been right. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of losing control. And that's when I realized the open relationship wasn't the real betrayal. The real betrayal was this. He never once worries about hurting me until he felt threatened. Nathan didn't bring up the closing the relationship idea just once. He brought it up every single day. At breakfast, before work, after work, before bed. It was like he'd flipped a switch and suddenly remembered what commitment was supposed to look like, except his version wasn't love. It was fear. A thick, suffocating fear wrapped around every question he asked me. Are you going to see Claire today? Are you texting someone else? Can you at least tell me where you're going? We should spend more time together, Karen. I think this open thing is just too much. We should focus on us. Focus on us, after everything he'd done. But he waited too long. So long. One evening, after a particularly tense day, he cornered me in the kitchen while I was putting dishes away. I want to close the relationship, he said firmly, as if this time saying it with conviction would erase weeks of damage. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man standing in front of me wasn't confident anymore. He wasn't glowing. He wasn't thrilled with his new freedom. He was scared, possessive, uncertain. You want to close it, I said, keeping my voice steady, because you're jealous. His eyes flashed defensively. I'm not jealous. Then why do you keep asking about Claire? I asked quietly. He didn't answer. Why do you keep checking my phone when you think I'm not looking? Silence. Why did you cancel all your dates this week? More silence. Why do you show up every time I'm not home? He swallowed hard. You're pulling away from me, he said, voice cracking ever so slightly. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be with me. Those words. You're supposed to be. Not I love you. Not I'm sorry. Not I messed up. Just a claim of entitlement. Nathan, I said softly, you're not worried about us. You're worried about losing control. His lips parted, but no sound came out. He was exposed, and he knew it. That night, things erupted. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch. I was scrolling on my phone, messaging Claire about a lost account at work. Nathan was pretending to watch TV while glaring at me from the corner of his eye. Finally, he snapped. Karen, are you seeing someone else? The question sliced through the room. I lowered my phone. Why does it matter? Isn't that what you wanted? No, he said, voice rising. I wanted us to explore. Together. I didn't want you to. He stopped abruptly, fists tightening. To replace me. I stared at him. The only person replacing you is you. He sucked in a shaky breath. Is it Claire? He demanded. Just tell me. Are you with her all the time because you're seeing her? The bitterness in his voice made my stomach twist. Nathan, I said calmly. Claire is my friend. That's not what it looks like. And what do you look like? I asked. Dating 6 women a week, going out with your ex, coming home at midnight, ignoring me, acting like I'm invisible. He shot up from the couch. You agreed to the open relationship. Because I was scared to lose you, I yelled. The words thundered between us, a truth dragged violently out of me. We stared at each other, both breathing hard. You were supposed to try too, he muttered. No, I wasn't supposed to try. I wasn't supposed to pretend. I wasn't supposed to play along so you could feel less guilty about what you already planned to do. He looked stunned. Planned, he repeated. Yes, I said. You planned all of this. And now that you feel like I'm slipping away suddenly, you want to close it. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. This isn't fair, he muttered. You're using my own idea against me. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You used it against me first. Nathan stopped pacing and turned toward me slowly, like a realization was creeping under his skin. I knew this would happen, he whispered. I knew it. I knew you'd find someone else, someone better, someone who actually listens to you. His voice cracked on the last words. And just like that, the truth spilled out. He wasn't just jealous. He wasn't just losing control. He was terrified of losing the one person who never left him, even when he deserved to be left. You were supposed to stay, he said quietly. You were supposed to wait for me. The silence that followed was suffocating. Nathan, I said softly, I'm not your safety net. He flinched. You love having me here, I continued. When it's convenient, when you're bored, when you're lonely, when you want comfort. But you don't choose me. Not really. Yes, I do, he insisted. No, I whispered. Not once in the past month have you chosen me. His hands shook, his jaw clenched, his eyes glistened shockingly, heartbreakingly. Tell me the truth, he said. Just tell me if you care about Claire more than me. I care about the person who stayed, I said. Who showed up, who listened, who didn't run away from me. He staggered back slightly like I'd punched him. So, yes, he breathed. It's not romantic, I said, firm but gentle. It's trust. Something you broke. The room went still. He stared at me, eyes wide, chest rising unevenly. You're choosing her, he whispered. You're actually choosing her. I'm choosing myself, I said. Finally. He let out a choked sound, the sound of someone realizing their worst fear just happened and they caused it themselves. Then he snapped. Nobody chooses me, he snarled. Nobody ever chooses me. Not even you. His face twisted with rage, shame, heartbreak, all tangled into something ugly and desperate. You were supposed to stay. You were supposed to forgive me. I stood meeting his fury with quiet resolve. I'm done staying for someone who never stayed for me. He froze, trembling. Then he grabbed his keys and stormed toward the door. I'm going to talk to Claire, he spit out. She doesn't get to interfere. My stomach dropped. No, Nathan, don't. But he was already gone, slamming the door hard enough to shake the frame. I grabbed my phone instantly and called Claire. She picked up on the second ring. Karen, Nathan's coming to your place, I said breathlessly. He's furious. Please don't open the door. There was a pause. Then Claire exhaled slowly. Let him come, she said. This conversation is long overdue. My heart pounded. Claire. It's okay, she said gently. I'll handle it. I promise. And just like that, the storm I'd been avoiding finally broke loose. When I ended the call with Claire, my hands were trembling so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I paced the apartment, the air feeling thick and heavy, like the pressure in a room right before a thunderstorm cracks open the sky. Nathan had stormed out in a fury fueled by panic and denial, and now he was headed straight toward Claire, the one person who'd been my anchor through all of this. I hated the idea of him confronting her, but I also knew Claire wasn't afraid of him. She wasn't afraid of the truth. She had been waiting for it. The minutes stretched painfully. 10, 20, 30. Then my phone buzzed. A call from Claire. I answered instantly. Claire, are you okay? She let out a breath that sounded half exhausted, half frustrated. I'm fine. It's over. Over, I repeated, heart pounding. What happened? She sighed. He showed up banging on my door. Not violently, just desperately. He was shouting about how I ruined everything, how I stole you away, how I'd been manipulating you. My stomach twisted. What did you say? I told him the truth, she said calmly. That he ruined this all by himself. That you deserve better than being treated like a placeholder while he ran off chasing excitement. I swallowed hard, imagining Nathan's face. He didn't take it well, did he? No, she admitted softly. He didn't. He accused me of wanting you for myself. He said I'd been waiting for this moment, waiting for him to slip up so I could swoop in. My heart ached not for him, but for the brokenness that made him say that. What did you do? I told him, Claire said firmly, that I never had any intention of taking you, that you're an adult who makes her own choices. And if he didn't like those choices, he should look at what pushed you away, not blame me. A long pause. Then she added quietly, he started crying, Karen. I sank onto the couch, stunned. Nathan never cried. Not in the whole time I'd known him. He always prided himself on being the calm one, the composed one. He realizes he lost you, Claire continued, and I think that's the first time he's actually felt consequences for something he chose. I didn't respond for a moment, not because I was gloating, but because hearing it made something inside me settle, quietly finally. Is he still there? I asked. No, he left after I told him he needed to talk to you, not me. My throat tightened. I don't want to talk to him. I know, she said. And you don't have to. But he needed to hear the truth from someone who wasn't you. Thank you, I whispered. Always, Claire replied. After we hung up, the apartment felt strangely still. Not heavy, not suffocating, just still. Balanced in a way it hadn't been in weeks. I realized then that sometimes closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you apologizing. Sometimes closure comes from finally understanding the truth. I had been loyal to someone who was never loyal to me, and I was finally done. The next morning, Nathan showed up at the apartment to collect the rest of his things. He didn't knock loudly. He didn't barge in. He walked in quietly, carrying a cardboard box, avoiding my eyes. As he moved from room to room, his silence wasn't cold, it was defeated. When he unplugged the gaming console he'd insisted was ours, he cleared his throat. I bought this for your birthday, he said. I'm taking it. Okay, I replied simply. He blinked like he expected a fight. When he didn't get one, something in him softened. Or maybe cracked. As he gathered his last belongings, he stopped in the doorway and finally looked at me. His voice came out small, almost fragile. I really loved you, Karen. I held his gaze. Calm, steady, different from the woman who once clung to his every word. No, I said gently. You loved having me. That's not the same thing. His face twisted just slightly, like he'd been hoping I wouldn't say it. But he didn't deny it. Couldn't deny it. He nodded once, wiped his cheek, and walked out. The door clicked shut. And with that sound, the soft final click, something inside me lifted. Not joy, not triumph, but peace. Claire came over an hour later with 2 coffees and a small bag of pastries. You okay? She asked softly. I thought about it, really thought. Then I nodded. Yeah, for the first time in a long time. I think I am. We spent the morning packing up leftover items Nathan hadn't taken, rearranging the living room, opening the curtains to let sunlight pour in like a cleansing tide. The apartment didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt new, different, mine. 2 weeks passed like that slow, gentle healing. The world stopped spinning so violently. The bed didn't feel so empty. The silence didn't feel like punishment. Claire checked on me constantly, but never smothered me. She helped me rebuild the small parts of my life that Nathan had chipped away without me noticing. And I realized something profound during one quiet afternoon, spent grading her kindergarten students' glitter-covered drawings at my dining table. The person who stands beside you during your darkest moments will teach you more about love than the one who dragged you into them. Nathan had taught me pain. Claire taught me healing. Not romance, not replacement, just genuine care, the kind I hadn't felt in far too long. Weeks later, I ran into one of Nathan's friends at a cafe. He gave me a bitter look, clearly having heard Nathan's version of events. He says you left him for someone else, he muttered. I took a deep sip of my coffee, then smiled softly. No, I said. I left him for myself. And it was the truth. A truth I finally believed. I'm not sure what the future looks like, not for Nathan, not for me. But I know this. The version of me who agreed to an open relationship because she was afraid to lose someone, she's gone. The version who stayed awake crying while he explored other women, she's gone too. The woman I've become now. She knows her worth. She knows her limits. She knows what real loyalty looks like. And she will never again settle for being someone's backup plan when she deserves to be chosen first.